I'm Jason UFC, and today we have a story about Colby Covington goes off on Khamzat Chimaev for, quote, ruining their planned fight. Covington claims Chimaev ruined their potential UFC fight. Okay, let me see. Colby Covington continues to hurl digs at Khamzat Chimaev. Covington has a undisputed UFC welterweight title fight coming up against Leon Rocky Edwards on December 16, 2023, but Covington has a few choice words for Khamzat Chimaev. Chimaev has ruffled some feathers in the UFC, which is perhaps one thing Chimaev shares in common with Covington. The two have been hurling barbs at one another. Khamzat Chimaev has claimed that Covington is, quote, scared to fight him, while Chaos Covington has declared that Khamzat Chimaev, quote, sucks inside the octagon. During an interview with ESPN, Colby Covington said that he did not intend to be away from action for almost 2 years. This is what Covington says. It's been extremely tough because as soon as I got done with that fight with Jorge Masvidal in March of 2022, last year, I went backstage to Hunter Campbell and I said, Hunter, I want to fight again in June or July. Get me back in there. I need to fight. I'm in my prime right now. I want to go capitalize. Covington claimed that he was due for a massive showdown with Khamzat Chimaev, but he says Khamzat Chimaev's inability to make welterweight limit consistently iced those plans. This is what Covington says. They, UFC, were looking at setting up that fight with that mother, Khamzat Chimaev, but he's unprofessional. Khamzat Chimaev's a clown, Covington says. Khamzat Chimaev's out there laughing when he's missing weight by 10 pounds, making a fool of this publicly traded beautiful company of the UFC, making a fool while you are ruining their main event pay-per-view. So Khamzat Chimaev's not accountable. Khamzat Chimaev's not someone the UFC can trust in that spotlight. Okay. Yeah, this is a kind of interesting article here, right? Now I'm an MMA casual, so I can't remember everything. Yeah, I don't follow everything in the sport every single day of the sport, but the timeline just doesn't seem to make much sense here, right? Because Colby Covington fought Jorge Masvidal in March of 2022. Khamzat Chimaev and Gilbert Burns, they fought last year. I don't know what month it was, but it was around the same time last year when Khamzat Chimaev and Gilbert Burns fought. And then Khamzat Chimaev's next fight was versus Nate Diaz in September of last year, where he ended up missing weight. So the idea that Colby Covington and him were going to fight in June or July, that doesn't seem likely, because I just did a tiny bit of research, which I almost never do. But when I watched the UFC 272 post-fight press conference, Colby Covington was asked about Khamzat Chimaev, and Colby Covington basically said, I don't pay attention to anyone that's only had like 2 or 3 fights in the UFC or something, or 3 or 4 fights in the UFC. So he basically wrote off Khamzat Chimaev after defeating Jorge Masvidal last year, right? So that doesn't, the idea that he was saying he would fight Khamzat Chimaev in June or July, that just doesn't seem to make much sense. And also why it doesn't make much sense is because when he's talking about Khamzat Chimaev being unprofessional and being a clown is when Khamzat Chimaev missed weight. And Khamzat Chimaev ended up missing weight in September of last year versus Nate Diaz, right? So the only time where you would think that Khamzat Chimaev and Colby Covington were going to fight would have probably been after he missed weight, right? Like maybe earlier this year when Colby Covington weighed in for the Leon Edwards versus Kamaru Usman. That seemed like that would have been a great card to throw on a Khamzat Chimaev and Colby Covington, because Khamzat Chimaev fought last September, Colby Covington fought last March, and neither of them fought since then. Khamzat Chimaev ended up fighting last month versus Kamar Usman, but both of them took very, very extended long breaks, right? If you look at Covington, his last fight was in March of 2022. So over a year after he defeated Jorge Masvidal, he called out Dustin Poirier, who's a lightweight, right? So there's still, there's a lot of other contenders that Colby Covington could have fought in the last 2 years besides Dustin Poirier and 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 Khamzat Chimaev, right? There's a lot of other contenders, so I don't really know why Colby Covington did not fight. Still is the number one contender for the welterweight belt, and he didn't fight much in the last 2 years, and I don't know why. I don't think you could just blame it on Khamzat Chimaev as being the only opponent that Covington had an opportunity to fight. So I have no idea why these two didn't fight. I have no idea why Covington didn't fight after the Masvidal fight. I don't know why Chimaev only fought once since last year after he missed weight versus Nate Diaz. But, you got to kind of call cap on this story, right? Covington also came out a few weeks ago, and he was saying that John Jones didn't want him on the card, on the MSG card. John Jones didn't want to share the card with Covington. But yeah, I'm calling just a little bit cap on this story because we really have not heard much story of Khamzat Chimaev and Colby Covington fighting. And if we would have heard that, the only time that probably, can't say the only time, I mean, after the Gilbert Burns fight, it seemed pretty obvious to put Colby Covington and Khamzat Chimaev together. But like I said, after that fight, after Covington defeated Masvidal, he wasn't even acknowledging that Khamzat Chimaev was, in the UFC. Like he said, he wasn't even watching people who only had 3 or 4 fights. So don't even ask him about people like that. But yeah, let me know your opinion of this story. If they would have fought, who would have won, right? How good that would have. To me, that would have been a great fight the UFC should have made this year. Like I said, I don't know why Covington, after defeating Jorge Masvidal last year, still the number one contender. And I don't know why Khamzat Chimaev, after defeating Kevin Holland last year, only fought once this year in the middleweight division. But let me know your opinion of this story. Do you think Khamzat Chimaev's unprofessionalism is the reason that he didn't fight Colby Chaos Covington? Or do you think that Colby Covington is just capping on this story about ruining that Khamzat Chimaev and him had a fight planned? I don't think that's, I call cap on that. I call cap. But let me know your opinion of this story. I'm Jason, UFC. Today we had a story about Colby Covington goes off on Khamzat Chimaev for ruining their planned fight. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the $1 donation button. And please tune in to the next video on this channel. Thanks a million for watching.